Thank you, Bad Mary, for that too sweet playing. Welcome back, all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast, HQ for all things comic book related. We are John and Charlie Rivera, co-founders of US Comics. Charlie, happy Comic Book Day.
Happy Comic Book Day to you, big brother, and happy Comic Book Day to all of you. Make sure you put down those funny books and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the audio or the video version. I don't care. Pay those bills.
Yeah, seriously, help us out. But Charlie, I want you to do me a personal favor right now.
Oh, okay.
I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine you had all the money you ever wanted at the push of a button. The power to control law enforcement, politicians at the highest levels, the judicial system as a whole, to have what you want, when you want it, whatever it is. All you have to do is kill someone before they kill you. It looks like you would be shockingly okay with it, but now I want you to imagine that the mind that conceived of something that batshit crazy is here with us right now in this podcast. Charlie, bring him in. Steven, what is up, my brother?
How we doing, boys?
Oh, so good. So good. Thank you so much for joining us, my dude. I gotta tell you the truth. Right off the very freaking bat, for anyone who does not know about the Circle series of books, you are missing out. You need to rectify that damn situation right now because Mr. Steven Galgan is the author of said series of literary goodness. Dude, thank you so much for taking the break to come on our stupid-ass podcast.
No, thank you for having me, guys. It's great. Should I be concerned with how quickly Charlie was ready to go?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Be very concerned. If you have any kind of like legal representation, please throw me a reco because I know I'll be the first phone call when that shit comes through. But
I mean, you had me at like money, wealth. I don't even need to like run governments.
Charlie said,
Yeah.
You had me at close your eyes. All right, yeah, man, fuck it, let's do it. So
That works.
Too freaking good. And I do want to say this, and we're gonna get into the lucky happenstance of us meeting Mr. Galgan, if you're nasty.
Our meet cute, one might argue.
Yeah, damn straight. But I do have to say that much like the work of J.R.R. himself,
Wow.
I absolutely love when you have the opportunity, when a concept strikes you so quickly that you're like, yeah, fuck, I'm going to read all that shit that's out there. When you have the opportunity to, in essence, binge books, because these two books are two in a series, to have the opportunity to read them back to back, it's just like throwing on freaking Sandman and just sitting there until you literally can't stay awake anymore. I tore through these, just absolutely awesome. So I want to jump. I want to jump kind of right in with it, and I'm positive that you get this question constantly. Where the fuzzy hell did this concept come from? And you know what? I'm going to leave it to you, Steven, also because you are the obvious expert. Do me a favor, even before I jump the gun a little bit, and Charlie, intercede because I get super geeked up about writers. Do me a favor, give the viewers and the listeners kind of like the $5 tour of the concept of your series of books for us.
Sure. So, I mean, the original book, the first book, The Circle, was it follows one specific character and his unwilling initiation. Thank you. Into this organization called The Circle, and it kind of exists beneath the surface of every country in the world. It's packed with the wealthy and the super powerful who have over time grown tiresome of how easy their lives have gotten. So back in the day, they met together and decided that in order to bring excitement and value and worth back into their lives, that they needed something beyond the financial, and that was, the thrill of the hunt. But not the hunt of game, but the hunt of one another. And they've kind of mutually decided that this is what we're going to do. We're going to hunt each other down.
I gotta tell you, man,
monsters right and left.
For me, first and first, mostly, I don't like you categorizing some of my favorite characters out of fiction to monsters, because one thing. So I'm barely literate. Getting me to sit down and focus for anything that isn't shiny is a real ordeal. And I have to say that's something that I think the Circle did really, really kind of beautifully. For me, the vibe I got was like almost John Wickian.
In it, trying to shoehorns a vibe into every conversation.
I really do. I just give me my fancy vest. The thing I kind of dig is we have a very cool central character that obviously you put a lot of work in, but something we strive for with our kind of funny books is to make sure that every character almost kind of leaps out. And you're like, well, I want to know about this cat. I want to know. And you did a really great job of giving us kind of just enough of everyone in this. As I've only gotten through the first book so far.
I believe the literary term is a shit ton of characters. There are so many characters.
That's the official terminology.
Shit.
Yeah.
But again, the book absolutely flies.
It pops, man.
So I think one thing that's really great, and if you look at even a quick look at the reviews for the Circle, they're fantastic. And I would say maybe out of all the reviews I read, only 5 or 6 mistook it for the Netflix reality TV show. So they were real confused.
Charlie knew 2 of those people.
By the
damn it. That was devastating to me. When that series came out, it was maybe about a month or so after I published. And I had no idea, I don't pay attention to stuff like that. I'm not into reality TV, so I don't really know that that's out there. All of a sudden, their show comes out, and I'm like, wait a minute. They're going to think that's this. So I started kind of writing on all the Twitter postings and all the Instagram postings about the Circle. I'm like, hey, wait, no, if you like the show, check out my book. And I did that so many times. I got shut down on social media, and they said, you're spamming people. I'm like, oh, come on.
You should have been like, no, we're different because mine is actually good. And fill in the blank.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping you just get a fat check from Netflix to buy out we could rename the book.
Just hit it the old for deposit only stamp, and it'll never trace back to you. It's fine.
Steve, is there something? Oh, yeah. Is there? Did you approach this like when you were doing your second draft or third draft? At some point, did you make a decision that you wanted this to be, like John said, so bingeable? It really does. Once it catches pace, the first book's relentless. Like it brought me back to kind of, this sounds insane, but it did feel like binging a series. One more chapter. Oh shit, one more chapter. And I don't think that's a universal desire. Did you approach this project being like, I want it to fly. I wanted people to be kind of burning their hands off. Was that intentional, or was that a side effect of the story itself?
You know what? I love that question. It's a great question. The original story of the Circle came from chocolate up. The Circle originally was a screenplay. That was
really?
I went to school to be a filmmaker and a film editor and all that. So for technically the idea of the Circle came even before this started. But it started as a screenplay for a screenwriting course that kind of evolved into what I was hoping to be a 120-page screenplay. The story of the Circle goes.
That's why I like it so much.
Yeah,
my brother, it makes fun of me all the time because genuinely, far more than books, I will read different drafts of different script drafts of films I like.
That's not why I'm making fun of you, dude.
Oh yeah,
I can pull the list out if you want.
He's got it ready.
That's incredible.
First of all, and I think I forgot to say thank you for that statement. One of the things that when I finally sat down to convert the screenplay into a novel was I looked at the types of books that I like to read. And the types of books I like to read are action-packed. They're short, consumable chapters where, they come to natural conclusions, but then they don't. You want to keep going, not because you want to because the story you need to know more, not because, well, it's late, I'm going to stop. I want you staying up late. I want you that invested in what's happening,
Fuck
either
yes,
to the
man.
characters or in the setting around it, that it just keeps going. So that screenplay, which when I decided to turn it into a novel, which is 2007, when I started that whole process, it was, well, all that stuff I wanted to do and say for all these little smaller characters. The characters I know you're talking about were blips on the radar in the screenplay, but I really got to get some backstory between, what happened, how they got to where they were. Were they of the rich and powerful, or were they, recruited for their skill? So I was able to really dive in, and for me, that was great as a creator. I hesitate to call myself an author. I know I'm an author, but I always think
I
myself
mean, I've got two very good
yeah.
confirmations of that right in front of me. But
I call myself a storyteller, but yeah. So as an author, you want people to be that invested, and I want those characters to have more than just two dimensions, and they needed that. So I was glad that
fuck
I was able to pull
yes.
that out.
So now that all being said, it always interests me when I read any piece or like a body of work of an author that I particularly like. I'm instantly fascinating just as much about the creator themselves. So as we established, that there's a multitude of characters, and I know in the first one I made, we're in essence seeing this world through like our prism. To see this world defined is through Doug. So, but my question for you though is this: everyone's got one. What character do you have in there that is like, well, this is fucking me. Like, who's the autobiographical cat just like walking through this world of your creation? Or I'll give you the ability to slip off the hook. Is it a combination? But then I'm gonna add the caveat. Okay, well, combination of who?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in theory, all of them, right? Because they had to come
Damn
from
it,
my
Charlie! I
insane
forgot that
brain.
option. Son of a bitch. He hit D. All of the above.
Yeah, all of the above. But I mean, to be honest, when I started writing this book, I was a 26-year-old guy, and Doug is a 26-year-old guy. So I was seeing. I want everybody to see it through I was Doug, because what in the hell would I do? I don't have Doug's,
Sure, for sure.
skills or his hunting prowess or any of the things he's got going for him. But I do have the what was going on with my life aspect of where I was at the time. So I was give Doug some excitement, and let's see what he does with it.
Fuck yes, man. And
That's
I,
fucking awesome.
I gotta say the truth too. It's all too often you will see. I guess it's true really in all formats of writing, whether it's for a book or eventual screenplay, or certainly for a comic book. We know very well. Um, you're gonna have that character that ushers the readers, the viewers, what have you, through that world that's alien to them. Like, well, what the fuck am I looking at? And
Yeah.
it's always very helpful, if not required, to have a character that's going through that exact same thing, because in essence the answers are coming to both the character and the audience at the same time. You're like, oh, thanks a lot, Doug. I appreciate you clearing that up for me.
I hate that that's how you read. You're like, thank you, Doug.
I'm like,
Just in the margins,
taking
just
notes.
They're old
little
friends.
love
He's
notes.
allowed.
It's literally everything I read. It's like there's a pop quiz coming up at any moment. Like, oh, you're not gonna catch me unprepared. But I find it very interesting that this project, that this series, that it did start as a screenplay, because we're in the age of adaptation, and
Yeah.
the conversations are so, they're like, it's like visceral fucking conversations that are had between sometimes people who don't even know each other, and they're choking each other out. But I mean, in a perfect case scenario, you see an adaptation. We are seeing the best, I think, and worst of both features and series. So we have the opportunity. We have our opinions, but if you had your druthers, would you prefer to see your work adapted as a long form series, like on one of the streamers or whomever, or would you prefer a sit your ass down, throw the popcorn in your face feature, like a proper summer blockbuster feature?
I mean, Either one is perfectly fine for the record out there.
You
If
cannot
anybody's out there
use
listening and
the
I say the
all.
opposite, I still want
Yeah,
you to come contact
this
me.
is not concrete. This is just this is a best case scenario.
A series
If
of
anybody
2-minute
from
shorts.
HBO
Like,
Max, if you're watching this from Disney Plus, I still want you. No matter what I say, I want you.
Yeah, we're not taking anybody off the table.
But originally, like I said, screenplay for a movie. That was what this was. And so if you asked me back in 2002 when I wrote my first draft of the screenplay, yes, I'm saying movie. Now that I've been able to really develop each of those characters, it's a series, like as far as I'm concerned. And now that there's a second book, there's actually more to it. At the time, with one book, you really can only do so much. The second book, really, I think, furthered along. There's a lot of backstory in book two, that kind of the history of where it all comes from. So with the two pieces there and my short story, there's definitely enough content to make a full series. So if anybody's out there wants to go ahead and do that,
get
you
us
can find me.
some of those fat movie checks. Steve,
Yeah.
No doubt.
is it when you open up a story, when you open up a world like you did, taking it from the screenplay format to this great kind of first installment, when you moved on to Legends of the Circle, was there a trepidation when you are staring at that blank screen and you have that little cursor dot? Are you like, why am I gonna fucking blade? Am I gonna blade to this shit, or am I gonna blade Trinity this shit? And like Charlie will like it, but no one the fuck else will. What is that thought process? Because again, I'm gonna call you what you self-identified as, a creator. Creators create. That's fucking all well and good. Except at some point, someone's gonna read that shit.
Yeah.
And if it's not able to live up, that's something you may not discover until you're done writing it.
Yeah.
What was that process like? Take me from blank screen. I imagine there were already reviews for The Circle. Again, as far as I'm sure you have bookmarked and you have your list of people to prove wrong that maybe didn't love it as much as John and I, but overwhelmingly positive reviews. Now you're going for
fucking morons.
the second bite at the apple. Was that just fucking scary? Did you just have the story? Walk me through that kind of decision and that execution.
Yeah. So first of all, that's 2 for Charlie. That's a fantastic question.
God damn it, Steve.
So score 2 for
Son of
Charlie.
a bitch.
And
He's
it is
gonna
a
be
contest.
impossible on Thanksgiving. He's going to be impossible.
First of all, 100% trepidation. The Circle self-publishing was a bucket list item for me. It was always, well, I've got this story. I said I was going to do it, so let's do it. And then it came out, and it was, my friends and family bought it. They shared it with their friends, and I got a couple of sales, in the beginning. It wasn't until I started to really kind of hard press some of those Instagram reviewers. I dabbled in TikTok and Twitter for a little while, but I kind of just centered all my information on Instagram. And the community of Bookstagram just kind of embraced the Circle as this indie that you need to look out for. And it started to take off. And then I started to get reviews, and then the requests for what happens next started to come from them. And it was the most flattering, like the most humbling and flattering moment all at the same time. Like, okay, people really care about this book and this world, and they want more. I guess I have to give it to them. Then we flash to that blank screen. It's like, well, am I going to let them down? Because I've got, in my back pocket, almost 300 positive reviews for my book, that I self-published, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things. But for somebody like myself, who's done it all himself, and marketing and publishing and advertising and all of it, I'm doing it myself. So for almost 300 people to say, hey, that's a pretty good book, that's a big step for me.
Put 300 people in a room, and that room is packed out. You're like, holy shit, look at all these people.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, too. If they were all in one place, you'd need to get another place because you can't fit them all.
You're not going to find parking, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I don't want to let them down. So I sat down with the blank screen and the cursor, and I just started typing an initial idea. I'm not a person that outlines. I'm a person who will outline and then lose the outline and just start over. So I don't even bother with the outlining anymore. So I just kind of write what comes to me. And the original plan for Legends of the Circle was to follow and I'm not at all comparing myself to Francis Ford Coppola as I say this, but the way The Godfather 2, the second Godfather, the way that story was told both in the past and in the present and separate scenes, my idea for that was to go back and forth between what happened before and what's happening to Doug now. And before I knew it, I had 300 pages of what happened before. And I was like, well, I guess I have to just go with this because this is the story that's coming naturally to me. And that's the story that I want to tell. And I got the brand new characters and their history. And John, I know you know what happens to a few of them. And that's leading to a book 3 where that all kind of comes together. But the fear, you know, my Instagram handle, The Circle is Real. You've got the title, The Circle is Real. The fear was real as I sat down to do it because, you know, as you can plainly see, it's not getting the reception The Circle did. And I put my onus on myself for that because I'm not, you know, beating down doors and hitting it as hard as I was with The Circle. My life got much more complicated, believe it or not. COVID really helped book sales because no one could go anywhere. Yeah. So people were on their phones and they were getting Amazon shipments of books and they were on their Kindles. So I was able to just kind of interact with those people a whole lot easier than I am now. Now I'm back to work. My kids are back to school. Everybody that's out on the internet is back to
new
work.
variant. Come on. No?
There's not a lot of people out there. Not a lot of people out there rooting for monkeypox, but I'm a big supporter right now.
Monkeypox moved 400 units. Steve, just because in the kind of following in someone like Francis Ford Coppola's footsteps, which one of your kids is going to ruin the adaptation of book 3? Did you choose one of them to fuck it all up?
No, none of my children are Fredo just yet.
Yeah, there's no Fredos.
You mean Sophia?
I don't fucking mean Fredo, bro.
You mean Sophia? Okay.
I mean a wonderful director and a dog shit almost everything else.
Yeah.
I apologize to
because
the
if
human.
Sophia is watching this podcast, she's like, I'll direct. You know what? Fuck Charlie. No, I'm not going to direct this.
Well, John,
Sophia,
fun fact. Let's welcome to the show,
I'm with you,
Sophia
Steve.
Coppola.
I'm with you, my friend. You know, you raise a very, very interesting point.
Thank you.
No, not you.
Oh, I was just
assumed
I was hitting it out of the park again.
Do you think that the prequel, as it were, that kind of came faster because all the groundwork had already been laid out with the original book? Like
you know what? It's possible. You know, the prequel, the entire book, Legends of the Circle, came from one chapter that I edited, an entire chapter I removed from the Circle. Oh. And it was the chapter in Paris during the riots. And I know, John, you probably know that better than Charlie yet.
Like most things.
I mean, I can vaguely mention that it happens during the Paris riots. And my editor and I had this discussion about, is it important to the story? Is it important to Doug's story? Right. And while I felt it was important to the universe of the Circle, she ultimately convinced me that it wasn't important to furthering Doug's story. And I thank her for that, because if I had won that battle, maybe Legends doesn't exist at all. And because I got that chapter into the book. So I started from that chapter and I worked backwards. And I said, okay, well, how did I get here?
Fucking awesome.
It's like
and then I had to go forward from there.
So a whole nother plant. That's fucking tits.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was also nerve wracking at times because I knew I had certain people had to live because they're in the Circle, you know, and certain people I had to create and then destroy.
Titanic effect. You're like, I know that iceberg is coming, but now we gotta fill in the gaps in between.
One day they'll make my Titanic 2 script. It turns out it was an Autobot.
We're like,
that shit's gonna rule.
Just cut hard, right? That is really, really interesting. Charlie, I
do, Steve. Just coming from a place
fucking
of
show off.
It being so cinematic, its origins being a film script, you had to have sat one lonely night, maybe while writing the second book. Who's your Doug? If tomorrow the check came in, they go, Steve, man, who's your dream casting? We're going to go after him.
So there are two answers to that, because there was the Doug I envisioned when I started writing the screenplay in 2002, and that was Ethan Hawke. I wanted Ethan Hawke to play Doug.
Oh,
I got that.
I could see a young
Now
Ethan
he's
Hawke.
55 years old. I don't think it would work. So now I have had this conversation with so many different people, and there's every different person I come up with, everybody's got a better idea, and so the best one in my mind right now, and
I
heavily influenced by a good friend of mine that lives up the road, is Scott Eastwood.
Oh,
can see that for sure.
He's going to age himself out of that pretty soon. So I'm going to have to start looking for younger guys, and maybe Timothy Chalamet wants to do it, but I don't know.
that's
That's
awesome.
damn straight. You know, it's so funny, Charlie. I had a very similar question planned. My casting.
Wait, before we moved was that also a good question? I need a little bit of praise.
Oh man,
I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to
need
give it
a
to you.
little bit of
Alright.
That's like saying a diabetic needs a little bit of insulin. Whatever. So like mentally, I was picturing like this hodgepodge of like a Tom Holland / Taron Egerton type, just like a wide-eyed.
I like that hybrid.
Like walking again, going back to like, okay, well, we're seeing the world now through their goggles. Oh, that is a good
Taron
question.
Egerton, that's a good one. He's got the chops too from those the Kingsman movies
Fuck
too.
yeah,
So
man, he could throw it
yeah,
out when
if
got
he's
him, but
watching,
he doesn't
We,
look like he's gotta.
We got a pretty great Facebook question from a young lady named Nancy over on Facebook. She asked, are your characters fully formed when you create them, or do they evolve and change as the creation process goes on?
Love the question, and they 100% evolve over time. I'll get a character who I think wants to do this, and then in the writing of it, I'll think to myself, well, I don't know that this character is going to be motivated by this situation, or I just don't think that character's emotions are where I want them to be. If I kind of, handcuff them to something, that handcuffs me to where I want them to go. So yeah, it's a great question. No, they are 100% fluid until they hit the page and I hit publish to Amazon. So yeah, great question, Nancy. Thank you.
Until you do the special edition where you change a bunch of shit,
bunch
make
of
it way
giant
worse.
Heads, unbelievable. Now Thanksgiving is going to be doubly impossible to deal with. No, just absolutely awesome, and we are operating in somewhat of a confined space, but I do want to say this, and this is something that we had spoken about prior. We want to get the word out. We want to give the most opportunity to people to ingest this material as possible. I don't know if we mentioned it before, but obviously it is available in the tried and true typical paper. I love that smell. Capacity, but they are now, as of today or as of yesterday.
As it turns out, it went live yesterday. Legends finally went live to Audible. But both books are now available on Audible. They're also both available on Kindle, and if you have Kindle Unlimited, they're free on Kindle Unlimited.
Fucking awesome.
I'm not even going to use the free Audible version. I'm a pay.
Yeah, if you've got it, go for it, man.
So yeah, we were talking about an opportunity for the loyal viewers and listeners. So Steve, why don't you walk us through that? Let them know where they can go for the opportunity to acquire a complimentary edition of either circle, one or two circles.
Yeah, so in the coming days, probably Friday and then extending over the weekend, I'm going to be hosting a giveaway on my Instagram account. So there's going to be a whole list of things that need to, like and follow and share and those types of things. And I'll be giving away an Audible code for each of the books and Kindle versions of each of the books. And I've got some swag that I can give out, some stickers and bookmarks, and I can for the winners, I'm going to also autograph an author plate, and I'll send that to you direct. And
that's outstanding.
And actually, for anybody that already owns the book, John, I might see you again. I could sign yours personally, but for anybody who already owns the book, or for anybody who orders the book, forever. Anytime you just shoot me a DM in Instagram that says, "Hey, I bought your book," I will, and send me your address. I will send you an autographed author plate to put inside that book. So if that's something that's interesting to you, go right ahead and do that.
Absolutely awesome and generous, and
I love stuff.
I'm definitely gonna take you up on that, and I will go ahead and take the steering wheel and say this: anyone, and I do mean anyone, who's going to sit there and say they hear that concept and they know without a shadow of the doubt in the most black and white terms that they know precisely that what they would do in that most harrowing of decision-making processes, they are one thing, Charlie, and I think you know what that is. They're a goddamn liar. Just like that infamous toy boy George Lucas was a liar when he said he already knew that they were going to be related. You're lying. You would not have made them make out like that. And the truth is, Han shot first. Cheers, boys.
True.
Cheers. Clink.
Cheers,
Salud.
boys.
Knock it back. And Charlie is dead, which makes the next topic very, very questionable. But Charlie, take it away, brother.
Well, let's not bury the lead. John is getting one step closer to be buried himself because he's getting old. Just look at him. I know he looks like some people might be really, really dumb and be like, which one's older? It's obviously John. He's significantly older than me, and it's almost time to celebrate my personal favorite holiday. I would argue the greatest holiday is not Christmas. No. It's not Halloween. Negative. It's my brother's birthday is just around the corner, and the best gift to give is a gift that you can enjoy yourself. So I took my brother even deeper into Jersey. I took him all the way to Red Bank, and I made him drive because I wanted him to join me in meeting our hero, the one, the only, the infamous, if you ask Twitter, I guess. But I brought my brother to meet a legendary New Jerseyan. And when I tell you, it is not to be understated that it took me 37 years, dozens of live shows.
Damn, you're old.
Dozens of con visits where this man was in the same giant theater as me, and never until this day was I able to get that warm, loving hug of an embrace.
What a hugger.
From a man so fit, you could not call him Lunchbox. You must call him Snack Pack. I'm, of course, talking about John and I finally met for his birthday. Wink. Finally met that Kevin Smith. And he was joined by his friend and, in a lot of ways, his inspiration, Jason Mewes, for Jay and
Hetero
Silent
life mate.
Bob's centennial. 100 years of Jay and Silent Bob. Kevin turned 52. Jay turned 48. My brother turned an undisclosed amount in just a little bit of time down the road.
Personal on me right away. Jesus Christ.
This is also where we met Steve. I don't want to bury the lead there, but hot damn, John, as far as trilogies go, we know that the circle's coming around the bend, but the John's birthday trilogy being kicked off with a visit to the stash and seeing Jay and Silent Bob get old. John, I'm going to turn it to you. I know this gift is arguably the most selfish gift I've ever given me by way of you, but I know how it made me feel. How did it feel to finally meet Kevin Smith?
You know what's funny is you told the story of how you were introduced to the Kevin Smith works, which it never would have occurred to me to tell like an influential person like that. Well, this is how I corrupted my brother and basically thrust my demons upon him. That was just like kind of evil. Basically,
Nootch.
I gave you the painting. I was like, well, good luck getting old. Thanks for letting me off the hook now. No, it was really surreal. Just to address what you were talking about before, I could never possibly get mad at you for a birthday gift that you would also enjoy when just mere months ago I took you to go see Bill Burr, which is also where we met several of the newer Secret Stash staffers like Sarah, who we became like instant cool with. She had joined us here on the podcast just a few weeks ago. Just an awesome person. Naturally, we saw Mike Zapsky while he was there. Sadly, we missed Ming. He was off doing his con route. But it was absolutely surreal. I am absolutely grateful that we did have the opportunity to, in essence, scout the location of the new secret stash, because I might have like missed some of the moments of Kevin Smith just like looking around on all the new shit, because I am a cat with something shiny wiggle in his face. It was amazing. I sat there. Our interactions were tremendous, but really, as much enjoyment as I got out of that and my one-on-one, I think I got as much, if not more, enjoyment out of seeing you fucking make a blubbering mess out of yourself, like, oh, Kevin, I really love you, and like, oh man, no, but in a cool way, That's what I mean. No, but sincerely, watching Charlie interact with what could only be described as his second favorite hero after myself, it really was a gift, bro. So I'll take the opportunity to thank you again. Also for lunch, that shit was delicious.
I will take the opportunity to say you're welcome again, and just fucking get ready for part 2, because Clerks 3 comes out in just a few weeks now, and we're going back to Jersey, baby, for the 7 o'clock show.
We're already here, dude. Like, keep that back to Jersey's for you Long Island suckers. But really quickly before we go on, first and first, mostly, Steve, are you also going to be attending the Clerks 3 debut here in Red Bank?
I don't know if I'll be at the debut. I still got to figure out how to get my tickets. I haven't done that yet, but I'm definitely gonna be at something.
At this point, maybe. We know some people, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
so real quick again, and Charlie mentioned it. This event, this kind of like a meet and greet, and also we had the opportunity to sit in the newly acquired Atlantic Movie Theater. To watch Kevin and Jay do their thing. We saw some interesting accent voices doing one of Kevin Smith's scripts. But yeah, Steve. So again, this is where we met. We had the opportunity to chit chat and we exchanged some information. Like it was lights were about to come on at the bar. We're like, oh well, we did what we could. So how did you find yourself out there? I happened to notice that the Circle books were also for sale at the Secret Stash in Red Bank. We want to put that right out there now. But yeah, so this was an opportunity. This was not your first Kevin Smith sighting, as it were, right?
No, actually, I've been following Kevin Smith since college, probably like you guys.
Literally? Just following him in your car, just be like, here, Kevin.
It's like my order of protection doesn't
allow
no me
idea.
to follow him that closely, but
to this point, he doesn't know yet. So let's keep that on the down low.
See, he's stealthy. That's how he's able to write about these murderers so well.
It's all about changing cars every once in a while.
Kev's probably read your books. He's like, fuck that, man. I'm not letting this guy follow me. Shit.
If he read my books, I need to know about that. Because I have been giving him copies of my book every time I'm in the stash. I'm like, here, can you get this to Kevin? Hey, can you get this to Kevin? Kevin, here's one for you. And he's too busy, and I get it, and he is absolved of not being able to read it. But one of these days, I'm gonna get him to.
It's gonna happen, dude. With all these like cross country flights, it's gonna happen. So
that would be great.
So this was one of a numerous encounters of yours with him.
This is the third time I've met him, or that day. And back in 1999, before the release of Dogma, a friend of mine scored tickets to the opening of the Secret Stash, but I shouldn't even say the opening. It was before the opening, because there was still plastic on the ground and stuff was covered. So it was just before they opened the Secret Stash, and it was part of a Kevin Smith tour. We went down there and we met at the Secret Stash. They took us on a tour around the area, Leonardo, to the Quick Stops, to the video store, and to all the Kevin Smith famous locations there. We ended up back at the stash. He meet and greet with everybody, get signatures. I got Brian O'Halloran. I got who else do I have? I'm trying to remember who. Well, obviously Jay and I don't know. I don't think I got Jay. I think Jay was out that day. But anyway, the whole View Us universe was there.
What year was this? I don't want to think about what Jay might have been doing.
Yeah, this was 1999. Jay may have been missing in action, so
you never know.
But so I got to meet him there. They showed us the trailer for Dogma, and it kind of blew everybody's minds. And then and then that was that. And then I was never in the same room as him again until after I published The Circle. So we're talking 20-something years later. And I met him at the Christmas bash they had. I forget what they called it, but we were all masked up, and they did a whole thing. They took a picture with you, and they took pictures, each of them holding one of my books, which was great.
Excellent.
And then I brought that picture with me to the event, and they signed that picture. So I've got that. That's right over here, framed on my desk. Right next. You can't see my kids, but yeah, Kevin's over there.
The kids know that
Priorities.
They know that.
Oh yeah.
That's outstanding. Now, so how would you rank this meeting, this one-on-one meeting with your others then?
The first time I met him, I was too starstruck to even have a physical conversation with him that meant anything. And then since the books came out, he is one of the coolest people I've spoken to.
So chill,
because
man. So chill.
And you guys both kind of hinted at it. He will, even if he could have very easily, when I handed my books, he could have been like, "Hey, thanks, man," and then thrown them in the trash when I left. But I didn't feel that way, right? And whether he did it or not, he saw me as a fan, as somebody that was, took the time out of my day to come to, and he treated me as such, and it was fantastic. And he was more than willing to just let me kind of ramble for a few minutes, and he understood what I was doing, and he was just one of the coolest people, as far as one of the very few, but also one of the very coolest celebrities I've ever met. He was just a great guy.
I couldn't agree with you more. Something that I was saying about, I'm sorry, Charlie, I'll throw it back to you. One of the things that struck me, it was like one of my aha moments, is actually when we were eating after we had met everybody. Without exception, literally all the people who Kevin Smith has surrounded himself, that in essence kind of like speaks with his voice in his absence, have been lit cool also.
Yeah.
So again, Sarah, we were talking about, Charlie and I had the opportunity to record with Mike and Ming, and if I'm not mistaken, you have as well.
Yeah.
Right. So all the people and you even just random. The first time that we went to the stash, the original stash, I took Charlie for his birthday many years ago. Charlie got an original Batman drawing. We got hand-drawn directions to the quick stop, and somehow we haphazardly made our way along a route that was very, very reminiscent of the opening of Clerks 2. We're like, this is fucking nuts. It's like we're in a Kevin Smith movie right now. But
I very much played the soundtrack.
Yeah,
like a total herb.
Yeah,
I regret nothing.
But it's very interesting that like attracts like, because considering that the people that he chose to surround himself with being so lit cool, that he must have been lit cool. So I had no trepidation about meeting this man. It was more along the lines of fuck, he's right there. This person who created all these things that I love and I hold so near and dear to my heart, and that I repeat ad nauseum all the time to people's look, we like it when he said it. Let's leave it with just him. I had no concern whatsoever. I knew that he was going to be cool. I just didn't know he was going to be quite that cool. That fucking hug, walking in the door, I was like, this is nice. This is real nice.
He really does know how to just. Sorry, I didn't mean to
jump in, please.
No, I didn't mean to talk over. He just knows how to treat people. He knows, which is something I think far too few celebrities know, is that without the people that are dedicated to their work, they are just me. They're nobody. And he understands that, and he values I don't want to say loyalty like that, but you know what I mean. He values the loyalty of the people that keep coming back to his movies. And I'm not calling him a cult guy. He's not a cult director, but he has a cult following. Should he never direct a movie again, he will be relevant because of us.
100%.
Of people like us, not us.
The fan base is fucking voracious. They just want more. They want more. They want more. But that's only because what came prior was so loved. Charlie, I cut you off.
It's fine. What's amazing about that experience, and for those of you that have ever liked even a singular Kevin Smith movie, or the cartoon, or any of his comic book writing, meet him. Go out of your way to meet the guy who claims that he has less time in front of him than behind him. But dare I say, if it's within my power, that man will live 400 more years. Because my brother put it really eloquently on social media, but there is this understandable notion of don't meet your heroes. Don't do it.
I saw
Because
that.
how can someone live up to icon status? What if Mel Brooks is a fucking asshole? What if Billy Joel doesn't give a fuck that you like his music? There has always been this notion that by and large, most people will let you down. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe you're the 500th person. I couldn't have imagined, short of being adopted, I couldn't have imagined a warmer embrace. I couldn't have imagined a more meaningful, if not, I'm sure,
sincere interest in what you were saying.
And
Which,
it must
frankly,
be fleeting.
I have a hard time even faking sometimes with this fucking guy.
But it also, there's no way you beat, right? We did the rough math. He probably met 400 people at that meet and greet, right? 400 people, some of whom shaking in terror, others giddy as shit, petrified of making an ass out of oneself. And this community that he built, which is as simple as there were people there that maybe only liked Clerks. There were people there that maybe only liked Yoga Hosers. There are people there that only liked Jay and Bob Strike Back, which is so fucking weird because it's the most self-referential shit ever. But there was something about that community where, and Steve, I hope it doesn't come across wrong, but you weren't the only like-minded, interesting, creative cat we spoke to. When you were literally one of half a dozen at least that we
most
legit
published though. Let's be fair. There were some interesting people, but like he definitely has the biggest Goodreads page.
My question though, beyond what you like that Kevin Smith has created, why do you think it is that seemingly there's only two roads? There are gatekeepers, and there are cats who like kick in the window for you. Did Kevin Smith play any part in your creative journey, or is it just happenstance that a bunch of fucking dreamers and creative types have found themselves to the point where on a fucking Thursday, in the middle of the day, we're all traveling to Red Bank to fucking get the warmest hug in the history of hugs?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that he wasn't an inspiration because he was. I mean, he's older than I am, but you know, I watched his career come from a guy who made a movie while he was working the day shift at a Quick Stop, and he had the determination, he had the wherewithal, he had the core group of people around him, and he made something of himself. So whether he inspired my stories at all, he inspired me to create, right? And I feel like that's the best compliment you can give a guy like that, because, you know, if you can inspire someone to tap into any kind of creative, you know, genes they have, you know, and they can kind of owe that to a moment where if he can do it, that's an inspiration to me. I feel like that's one of the greatest compliments you can give a person. If somebody reads my book and says, I can now, you know, because of this, I'm going to now do this, that'd be the greatest thing in the world to me. Now, I'm not Kevin Smith, but he's been inspiring people since 1995 when Clerk came out. And, you know, he's a guy from Red Bank. I live in the neighboring town, you know, so he did it.
Steven,
why can't I?
We know, because this fucking creeper over here, he had me driving past homeboy's childhood home. I'm like, oh man, we are definitely getting locked up today. But yeah,
I hit it well. I was hanging out the window.
Just like tongue hanging out like a Labrador. But yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And you know what? I'll steal from the man himself. You know, he's maybe just as well known for some of his speaking engagements as he is for some of the content that he's put out into the world. But at one such speaking engagement, he gives a very, very, as always, eloquent, but like particularly poignant and hard hitting for this trio here. You know, Steve, you're further ahead than we than we are currently, but obviously we aspire to be at your level. So consider yourself in that same class. But he gives this fucking amazing soliloquy about his process, and he tops it all off with the fucking why not? You wanna write a book series? Why not? Just fucking do it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Right.
At the end of the day, let's see what happens. Oh, John and Charlie, you have a concept for comic books. You love comic books, but there's a certain laundry list of things that grind your gears, and you think things would be better if you eliminated those. You want to do it better? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Why not? Go for it.
Why not?
Why not? Like that mantra has been what I've taken away from. Certainly, I took away from that day when I first heard it. Certainly was resonating in my head when I met the man, and really on a day-to-day basis as we continue our creation process, it just repeats and repeats and repeats. Instead of shame, it's why not? Just fucking just do it. We'll figure it out at the end of the day.
That's one of that's arguably the secret sauce, right? The secret sauce is making sure that you get rid of as many why people, not necessarily out of your life, but certainly out of your peripheral, because it's paralyzing.
Not in the circle sense of the word. Don't get rid of them in the circle sense of the word, but like.
No.
What do you mean, man?
Know.
What do you fucking mean, John? No, but sincerely, I have found some of my fucking most depressing moments was misidentifying a why for a why not in a million stupid ways. 5 years ago, I did no charity work. 5 years later, the car I drive every day is dressed up like it's fucking Halloween. This year alone, I actually haven't even told my brother this yet, but John, I was checking over the numbers. Over $5,000 have been raised for children's charities. That's with awesome. A couple proton packs, some flight suits, and a silly car that lights up. Fucking, that's a why not thing. And ultimately, the people I thought I'd be able to turn to for that why not is why it took so fucking long. The comic book, I kind of announced that I had an idea for a short. I sent it to our editor-in-chief here at USComics for kind of that second pass, which is a terrifying process. Putting anything out into the fucking universe. It's just a fucking scary process, especially when it's something where you're still just in the early stages of. I never submitted a fully formed script before. I've pitched shit, I've written out shit, but that was the first time I said, this is what I want panels to look like. Now, this is what I want the bubbles to say.
Ironically, I use the same Kevin Smith model of reading the lines in like as funny voices as I could think of. So Pest was read as Mickey Mouse, and I just want you to know, like, this is what was happening behind closed doors. Just
that's how I wrote it.
The notes.
That's how. The only difference was Pest was Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was just all voices I could do to myself.
Those are two very different voices.
That's gonna be a real problem when he's climbing walls.
Two great tastes that go great together. Steve, was there ever a time though when like the whys like overpowered you for a bit? And how the fuck did you fight your way out?
Absolutely. Like the journey of the circle began in 1997. I published in 2019. So there were lots of whys all the way through that process. Why do I think I have what it takes to write a screenplay? Why did I write such a bad screenplay? No one wants it because it's bad. Why don't I just write a book? Who do I think I am that I can write a book? Look at all these published authors. I'm not like these guys. Why do I bother sending out all these query letters to agents and publishing houses? Why am I going to bother? Let's stick it back on the shelf. Why don't I take another look at it? And then you have to defeat the whys. You don't have to just put them aside. You have to take them out, circle style. You've got to get rid of not the people, but the self whys. Like you've got to get them out of there. Sorry. You got to get them out because the why nots. What's the worst that was going to happen if I sent my book to be published in 2009 as opposed to 2019? The worst that was going to happen was what I expected to happen, which was nobody was going to buy it. Turns out somebody bought it, and I would have had that success 10 years earlier. And maybe there'd be a series of circle books instead of me finally finding.
You know what's fucking awesome though, Steve? That shit's published now, though.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
son.
That's
Hell
we were just
yeah,
talking
son.
about the pandemic for all of its fucking horrifying side effects. People were willing to fucking give something a shot. Sometimes
And rightfully so.
fuck yeah, and
That's
sometimes that
their
shit
why
that holds
not.
us
Like,
back.
yeah, fuck it, why not? Let's,
Yeah.
see what's happening here.
With that being said, to wrap up my time, I just want to go around. John, favorite Kevin Smith movie?
Fuck, gun to my head, circle
Gun to
style.
your head.
Fuck my ass sideways. Probably to this day, and I do largely credit my Catholic school upbringing. It's probably Dogma. Matter of fact, my little one act that went up up here in New York, or over there across the river in New York. I mean, there were Kevin Smith elements there. I dressed up my devil, fucking just like Matt, Matt and Ben with the coat and the hoodies and stuff like that. I'm like, clearly all angels when they're on Earth dress this way, whether they're good or bad or someplace in between. So yeah, for me, it's probably Dogma.
Steve, what about you? Favorite Kevin Smith flick?
I'm not gonna say Dogma because now it's been taken. No, but
All right, Steve.
I
We know
always
you look
felt
up
like,
to me.
and Dogma has been, one of I feel like I feel like it's underrated because he's such a good storyteller. For what he likes to do is he just likes the actors to just do their thing, and that's not Dogma, right? Dogma was more cinematic than his other films, so I enjoyed Dogma for that. But Chasing Amy for me was a really great story. For two reasons. Number one, they filmed part of Chasing Amy in my hometown of Brick, New Jersey. I grew up in Brick. And that ice rink, I know that ice rink backwards
That's
and forwards.
awesome.
Like I
So-
busted my ass right there.
Yeah. And again, I felt like I was attached to Dogma because I got that sneak peek of the trailer. So I feel like I was personally attached to those two movies. So those two
awesome.
always stand out to me.
That's brilliant.
Right, should we say Cop Out just to make Kevin feel better? Or he really comes down on himself for Cop Out. I don't know.
You know what though?
Listen, with Bruce Willis going through what sadly he's going through, we could throw a cop out there. It's fine.
I'm gonna say Cop Out.
But
I meant literally
honestly,
throw it out.
I think
They all might
think,
want to.
I think Cop Out and I think Zach and Miri were vital to get Kevin to what he is today. And what he is today is like so much more than a writer, director, or even, as he tends to describe himself, an editor. What those flicks did was they doubled down this notion of like, don't emulate anybody. It's never going to be worth it. And I think the last time that he bought into anyone else's bullshit is going to be my answer, because I love Dogma. I fucking love Chasing Amy. I, of course, love Clerks. But for me, right now, the King of the Mountain is Clerks 2. That was his last, mostly like studio film, where the only really thing that was not Kevin Smith about it was the fact that they gave the same budget to fucking advertise the thing, where they could have given him more money to make a tighter, crisper film. And instead they said, nope, we're going to spend that exact same dollar amount for Rosario Dawson posters. And I love me some Rosario Dawson poster.
Good choice.
But that was truly the last time I think that influence happened. And following it with Red State, Yoga Hosers, Tusk, whether or not you love or hate those films.
if those horns from Red State didn't tighten your butthole, you're a goddamn George Lucas liar.
There is something really special about Clerks 2 and the fact that it kind of hits everything that is Kevin Smith, right? It's way over the top. There's very stupid jokes in it that are glorious. There's vagina trolls. That movie's fucking amazing. And how does it end? It ends with
a donkey show.
Some of the most, after the donkey show, but it has a fucking donkey show. It ends with two friends declaring so much fucking love for each other that once again, it totally justified that my brother's not only my best fucking friend, but I love my brother to the point where I will circle any motherfucker that tries to hold him down. And then it ends, goes back into black and white, and Dante is still a fucking idiot because he's still behind that goddamn counter he can't escape. And there's something magical about Clerks 2 and what it says for Kev's career, and I think it's going to wind up being that linchpin for everything that preceded it and everything that fucking followed it.
Damn
I think it's a
straight, Charlie.
masterclass in what he built.
Well said. And you would
Thank you.
think almost as if you were following the man and his work for like, I don't know, 92% of your goddamn life. Oh, that's right, you were, because I showed it to you in 1995 like a monster.
No, it really
Actually,
fucked me up.
I don't take credit for it. I blame my comic book shop, quite frankly, because I spent a lot of time there that year. But you know what, though? Just like Kev, just like the Stash, just like our esteemed guest, Mr. Galgan, as well, we also have to pay the bill. So, Charlie, why don't you jump us right in there? Why don't you show the good people, or even tell them, why don't you, how we do that?
Well, today we're brought to you by Manscaped. Wait, no, because we're not like every other fucking bullshit pod who sells out for any random brand that's willing to shell a couple dollars their way. No, no! Today we are brought to you by one of our absolute favorite bands, Bad Mary. You heard them during the intro. You're going to hear them at the end of the show. If you're wondering where else you can catch their act, you can go ahead and follow them over at Bad Mary Band across all social media platforms. You can support them over on patreon.com/Bad Mary Band. You can stay up to date at badmary.com for merch and upcoming performances. But my absolute favorite part is that their entire discography is available on every single music streaming service.
Damn
What more
straight,
could you want?
Bad Mary. Ooh, they rock so hard. But also as well as we cannot forget to answer or even ask that question that I know is on everybody's mind. And that is, where we dropping with Sergeant Finesse. You can find him gaming on both Trovo, I said that's Trovo, and also as well as Facebook. Multiple streams every day, outstanding video game content, supporter games, co-streams, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check them out today. But if you need to pick me up, we're about to do some chilling. Go over and follow the White Rabbit to sneakenergy.com. When Sarge is on deck, you salute GG's. But also, we cannot forget the man of the hour of power, even though we usually go about like an hour and a half. Fucking sue us. The multiple award-winning author of the Circle series. The Circle series, again, as we had mentioned before, available in both paper, traditional, and digital versions. Again, if you weren't paying attention, pay attention now, because digitally they are both available for purchase on Audible. They're available, I believe, at no charge with an unlimited Kindle membership. I think that's the caveat. So you really have no excuse. I got my physical copies I got on Amazon, and I will be hitting up the author for my card, my autograph card. But Stephen, yeah, where else? If there are old school cats like myself that they're also looking for the physical copies, other than Amazon, where can they go?
Right now, they can go to the Secret Stash. By request. They don't put them out in front, so they're not selling well. So they put them in the back.
It's an
By
off
request,
the menu item, bro. If
Yeah,
this
oh
is
yeah, oh, yeah.
Starbucks or McDonald's, forget about
You
it.
go in there, you mention me, they're gonna say, "Are you
You're like-
serious?" No.
Like a
And
speakeasy.
locally, if you're of the area, they're also in Booktown, which is a local bookstore that's nearby. I also want to mention, I forgot to mention this earlier, if you don't have the Kindle Unlimited subscription, it's only 99 cents on Kindle.
Beautiful.
And so, I mean, I make
buck?
the argument. I make the argument you can go to the dollar store and buy five dumber things in my book right now. So
American, that is fucking nuts. That is outstanding, guys. Sincerely, and it's not because he's here. We would have talked about it in any case, whether he agreed to join us or not. It's just a pair of great reads, and because they are both available, you can do like I did with the Game of Thrones series. You can binge that shit. Before ultimately it will be adapted. You're hearing it here first. This content will 100% be adapted, and I'm right now putting myself up for. I'm happy to even play a watcher because I got that sneaky fucking collar, kind of olive, not quite sure what I am by looking at me look. So you could put me in for like even a watcher character. But I also want to go ahead and throw out a past guest of ours. He's doing a big push over on eBay. If you guys are looking for any hard to find vinyl albums, go over to eBay, check out Empty Box King. Again, probably a little bit more than $1. You can get a Circle book for cheaper than some of these albums, so get them both. There's something to read to. But I do want to say this. Now that all that business being done, talking to some of the people, whether they're online or just milling about or, fighting for parking as we were, one of the things that came up with you, Stephen, directly was we were talking about kind of like, well, we did what you did, and were those Venn diagrams kind of like cross lines got all blurry. You're like, oh yeah, I'm a huge Simpsons fan, and I had to do the look around. I'm like, fuck, man, those are guys that are still out there. That's awesome because I love me some Simpsons. Now it's very interesting. Your like initial take, it was almost, and forgive me for saying it if it's not true, but it was almost like a, yeah, I like the Simpsons. And like it was almost like some like quasi apologetically. So I'm gonna start it with you, brother. You are at this point now an official, acknowledged Simpsons fan. And there's nothing to be ashamed of about that. But yeah, so what about these yellow bastards really kind of like caught you? Is it that they've been around forever, seemingly, or like cartoon on prime time? Woohoo!
Yeah,
Like,
no shame. I got no shame about it for the first maybe half of their run. I feel like I haven't watched. I haven't watched it. I think the newest episode I watched, I might have been in my 30s at that point, which is a while ago. But no, like you said, I think we talked about this when we met. When the show debuted, I was Bart's age. It's still going, and I'm older than Homer at this point. So I mean,
insane.
Just the buffoonery that is Homer Simpson is what I live for. Just watching him kind of meander through life and like fall ass backwards into success after success,
or even like out of disaster. I'm like thinking, you deserve this. Like what's happening to you right now, buddy? You deserve this. And luckily, at the end of 30 minutes, he's like seemed to weasel himself out of it. It's kind of somewhat of a minor miracle.
I feel like we all know a Homer-esque person in our lives, and we are all the Frank Grimes, right? Like we're all just watching, trying to figure out how this person hasn't been discovered as some kind of a fraud for his entire life.
Like, how's this motherfucker gonna get out of this shit?
Yeah.
Let me go grab some popcorn. For me, and Charlie, we're gonna go right to you. But for me, it has actually largely been about the secondary or like the supporting characters.
Oh, sure.
I don't know why it is, and it's not just the Simpsons. That's for whatever reason, whether it's because I do some writing myself or because it's like when they tell you don't watch how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Because you will never again experience sausage the same way. And like in my personal experience, I've done a little theater also, and whether it's a lot or a little, having that kind of like knowledge makes you look for certain things. You don't ever really watch it the same. So having had to write or describe even secondary characters and how they do need to also be fleshed out, at least in your mind, so that you can go ahead and insert them into the world. I pay a lot of attention to those characters, whether it's in something like The Simpsons or whether it's on a Broadway stage. That being said, my absolute favorite non-nuclear family member is fucking Grandpa. God damn, do I love that toothless bum. If you think Homer is bumbling, fucking Grandpa is lucky that he's able to shuffle into the episode. Like that he didn't show up in like South Park or something like that. I fucking love him. And this is what I want to go around the horn, Charlie, for the time that we have left. So my personal favorite Simpsons episode is when you got to take that deep dive down the rabbit hole, and naturally it was Grandpa centric. When you found out that Grandpa had a World War II past as what can only be described as basically like a yellow Sergeant Rock. He was a fucking
He was a hellfish.
The commander of the flying hellfish. First of all, that hellfish logo was dynamite.
Badass.
I would rock that as a tattoo. Dynamite.
My fantasy football team was the flying hellfish for like 3 years.
Oh, that is awesome.
I was the flying hellfish for 3 years. I was the stonecutters for 3 years. What else was I? Oh God, I was the Pin Pals once, just because I was having some fun. I try to draw from The Simpsons every time. I was Fat Tony's legitimate business club for a while.
That sounds like a legit soccer
The
club.
yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds like a real thing.
I mean, the Simpsons again, and you don't know if it's because of its longevity. Actually, another very much favorite of mine is South Park. South Park made a whole
Yeah.
episode out of like Simpsons did it. Simpsons
Simpsons
did
did
it.
it. Yeah.
And you do have to say that it's. I would never sit here and say, well, it's because they've been around so long that they've touched everything.
34 years.
They've been around a long ass time, but it's not
They're about to
just
retire.
it's not just because no, only Apu gets to retire. It's not just because they've been around for so long. I mean, look at the fucking laundry list of creative, brilliant minds that have brought this content to us. I think maybe we might be looking at kind of like the horizon line, the finish line might be coming up from them because sadly not all the cast members are in the best of health. And this is definitely one of those things that like, look, we've done it for so long. There's it's not right to kind of go on. Maybe I mean I would
Yeah.
only assume that, but on a happier subject matter, Charlie. So mine is Grandpa's fucking Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
Adventures in World War II. Just my absolute favorite episode. But again, there's a ton of favorites. What's your favorite episode, Charlie?
I'm gonna sidestep it just a bit because the thing that fuels all of my favorite episodes, because after 34 years, it's a fucking stack. If Troy McClure is in it, I'm loving it because my good looks paid for that pool and my talent fills it with water. Troy McClure was without question. I mean, Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
You talk about a talent
Brilliant.
immortalized.
Genius.
Truly immortalized because of The Simpsons. Wound up in so many homes and so many people's lives. Troy McClure is the only Simpsons figure I had to own to have in this toy closet that is my office.
Toy box.
Literally the like you were saying, John, those secondary characters.
Oh, they're
They especially as time went on, it was impossible to not grow out of like Bartman and into like these characters that you just couldn't get away with, and Troy McClure for me more than any other character to this day.
all right.
I can read.
Do you
quotes.
have a particular Phil Hartman episode that like springs to mind, or like even like a Phil Hartman recurring character? Because he had plenty.
The problem is at this point I've distanced myself so much from The Simpsons.
Hater.
If you
Just
told
a
me
hater.
every episode had like a little
Charlie
pop up,
is too cool for
But you
school.
got it. Don't forget
if-
about Lionel Hutz. You got to go Lionel Hutz there because
I-
that's number one. And then there's a whole episode where he speaks German when he sells the plant. Like that's Phil Hartman, and you don't realize it until you look at the credits. Like, what's he doing in there?
The man is brilliant. So you know what? Forget Charlie. Let's go to the resident expert, the
Please.
self-anointed mayor of Springfield. Steve, I mean, I know for you it's almost an impossible question, especially for the fact that you've in essence cut the rundown in half, which is totally fine and fair. I'm sure there are plenty of people that would agree with you. Do you have
he's like, I can't believe they ended at season 20. That's such a shame.
Do you have
When
a
you
top
said
of the
34
pile?
years, I was a little shocked.
He's like, fuck, I'm way behind.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Okay,
like a
so
go-to?
there's the episode that I always go back to as whether it's my favorite. I mentioned Frank Grimes, which is one of my favorite episodes of all time. But I always go back to when somebody says to me, "What made you like The Simpsons?" and it's Homer at the bat. It's when he was on the softball team. Sorry, I just got an alert on my phone. When he was on the company softball team, and they got all those major leaguers,
Yes.
and that disaster.
It was like a
that's
Save
what
your
took me.
sideburns!
prequel.
Yeah, that sold me on that show, and I have not stopped watching. Well, I should say I haven't, but I watch it every day, I won't have you ask my wife because she will just roll her eyes. But I watch it. I watch it every evening before I fall asleep. It just kind of, I pick an episode at random. I hit the sleep timer on my TV, and I just kind of drift away.
Now we know where those Technicolor yellow hue dreams come from. And that's a fucking dynamite pull. One of the other things, and this is something that we spoke about also when we were kind of waiting our turns. Simpsons, again, whether we're in agreement of whether it jumped the shark and at what point did it jump the shark. A lot of times people kind of refer to the waves of writers that came and went as the markers of like eras of Simpsons and whatnot. But now, if I'm not mistaken, the entire kit and caboodle is streaming. Charlie, it's on HBO Max or it's on Disney?
Disney Plus.
Disney, okay. Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
Pardon.
And they finally fixed its formatting because they had it zoomed in to the point where it was ruining gags. Yeah. So they did finally fix that.
So ironically, they didn't see that coming, even though the show's been around forever. But the Simpsons did see a lot of other things coming. Steven and I were talking about how many fucking times the Simpsons, while entertaining us with the nonsense that was happening, also very, very accurately predicted the future. So I'm gonna throw it around with you guys, Steven. When we were standing together, we immediately both jumped to the Donald Trump going down the escalator. Yeah. That was like the fucking creepiest. If you look at that as a side by side, just if you would, for anyone who's unfamiliar, definitely check it out after you watch or listen to this. But Steven, can you kind of walk us through that scenario? Because if you did not have the opportunity to say, "Look, dummy, this is what I'm talking about," I don't think a person would agree, would believe you.
I'm convinced that he must be a fan, because there's no way he would do that knowing that that's out there. Like, the fact that he announced his candidacy by kind of just gliding down an escalator, and then you can go back, I think it's maybe 7 years prior, and he did the exact same thing, only behind him was Homer Simpson on that escalator on his way down.
And that would be hilarious if I recreated the Simpsons episode.
That would make them all love me.
It's very popular. They all love it.
People are telling me.
It's just unbelievable. So another one, and I did. It's not off the top of my head. I'm not going to pretend. I had to look it up. I said I know that there are multiple examples because this is something that comes up all the time. So they predicted Lady Gaga's halftime performance at the Super Bowl. Pretty creepy.
I didn't know that.
Lisa Goes Gaga in 2012. Let's see what else. They predicted in Boy Meets Curl in 2010. They predicted the U.S. curling team's Olympic gold medal in 2018.
Can I mention my favorite?
That's that's to me one of the newer ones that I've seen.
So the sideburn gag I alluded to before. Don Mattingly is on the team. Shave your sideburns, and he keeps going higher and higher. So obviously cartoons take a long time to make. So what wound up happening in pop culture, they think the Simpsons were taking a jab at Steinbrenner, who famously benched Mattingly because he refused to pay players that didn't adhere to the clean cut policy. But it was a fucking cartoon. Months before that happened is when they recorded Mattingly's lines.
That's true. I
for
forgot
the
all about
Simpsons. So like it's a common spoken about sports thing.
There's something going on because also as well as they predicted the FIFA corruption case.
What?
Which is like fucking multi-billion-dollar corruption case for one of the, if not the largest sports organizations worldwide. So they did that. You don't have to live like a referee in 2014.
What about the Siegfried and Roy Tiger attack? The knockoff Simpson brand Siegfried and Roy get fucked up by that tiger, and poor Roy should have seen. How do you see that cartoon?
Yeah.
Which at the time everyone fucking knew Simpsons.
Yeah.
You're Siegfried and Roy, and they show that clip to you. The next day, you're like, I want guys in suits.
He should
go
have
fuck yourselves.
His fucking resignation. Be like, this is my 2-week notice. I just watched The Simpsons. Fuck that shit. Those things are wild tigers. You got to be out of your mind. Treehouse of Horror in 2020.
Oh.
When aliens showed up. That fucking,
That's
I
another
cannot
one of my
believe The
favorites.
Simpsons predicted it.
The
That
voting
episode with
machines,
Citizen
dude.
Kang when
Uh,
when that gets me every time. Another fantasy football team of mine was Kang and Kodos. Was that 'cause
Oh, those sexy bitches. God, I mean,
why
honestly,
why are
the
you and
list
your
goes on
opponent
and on.
constantly holding hands?
Oh my God! I mean, honestly,
What?
like I'm looking here, the list goes on and on and on. The one that really struck
incredible.
me the most was and this is again, we talked about George R. Martin just literally going into this show, but at a point where everyone was just waiting and not was is waiting with bated breath for George R. Martin to finish the goddamn fucking series. We have a whole new series that was all based on one book, which is Dynamite. Everybody's gonna really love this one, I promise. But we were all waiting for these last two books to drop. The series kept it going, but before the series did it, The Simpsons showed King's Landing burning, which didn't happen in the actual Game of Thrones show till a year fucking later. So I'm sorry, there is something magical going on with that show. I love The Simpsons, man. I'm the same way. Someone says The Simpsons, fuck it. I say, Charlie, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. As usual, I love The Simpsons, and it's not just as like a comfort food. A lot of times people talk about some of these older shows, in particular sitcoms, and this is obviously what this is. The fact that it's animated is almost beside the point. These shows, they are comfort food in a lot of ways because we've seen 92% of them already. Some of us,
At least the
didn't
first
quit.
half.
Yeah.
But with them having new ones still coming out, it's like your favorite restaurant. But every time you go back, they fucking added something new to the menu. You're like, oh shit, I was coming here for fucking the vegetarian chicken Slovaki, but you know what? Sure, let me try this. That's what's so nice about it, is that they're still pumping out content. And like I had mentioned before, sadly, we do have names being withheld. I'm not sure how public it is, but yeah, it's not going to be on forever. That makes me very, very sad because I also grew up on the show. So
but
it says something about like, our own mortality and something fucking very deep, which we never touch on in this show. But I love The Simpsons, man. I fucking love it. I love it.
Nothing,
The fact
nothing
that they all have
lasts.
jaundice is, besides the fact, I love those yellow fuckers.
There's something magical about something with this sort of run, right? Like there's
course.
just something special about it. With that being said, though, of the two of us, John, I'm the more is more guy. I'm wildly uncomfortable with the idea of the Simpsons IP one day getting hung up because I think those characters, regardless of what people might think of current seasons, right? That's a device to tell a lot of different stories.
Of course.
It would be bullshit to say that the Simpsons never sat us down and told us a tale about acceptance or friendship or one of the episodes that strikes me so much, and I forget the character's name, but the kind of less
Bart.
than
His
brilliant
name is Bart.
how dare you, the less than brilliant schoolmate of Bart and Lisa who wanted Lisa to be his Valentine.
Milhouse?
Oh, Ralph.
Ralph. When Ralph has his little heart,
I'm in danger.
they slow it down, like you can see his heart break in real time.
Yes.
I was at an age.
Choo.
I was at an age though when that came out, where like heartbreak was a new experience, and
Charlie
the
was
Simpsons,
Ralph.
I was Ralph way more often than I fucking wasn't. And my cards were not as clever as I choose you. There's something magical about The Simpsons, and the truth is, as sacrilegious as it sounds, I think one day we're going to unfortunately be looking at a world without Simpsons, and Simpsons to me is ripe for I dare not call it a reboot, but
no,
reimagining down the road.
Well, they keep trying to do it, right? Like they've been trying to capture that magic for a long time. You've got King of the Hill, and you've got Bob's Burgers, and you've got even Family Guy tried to capture it. They're their own thing now, and they are a force to be reckoned with. But they were trying to capture
All of
what
them
that lightning in
started
a
as
bottle was.
Well, yeah,
kind of a
Those
knockoff.
first few seasons of Family Guy were like just trying to find new ways to do, maybe more vulgar ways to do The Simpsons.
The good seasons of Family
There's
Guy?
a reason why, though, The Simpsons has been the gold standard that all
Yeah.
of these other animated features aspire to, because they did it best. And like I said, I'm a fan of several animated things that are floating around out there. But I'm also of the opinion, like, look, whoever did it first did it best ultimately, and all you're ever gonna do is aspire to that. And the sheer run time
Yeah.
says as much about it as any of the initial creative and the changes that occurred and the world has changed around them. But look, on the same
And I
token, yeah, there's all these good feelings that a lot of these episodes, most of the episodes, kind of leave us with. But that's the sitcom format. Like, look, we're gonna
Yeah.
take these people, shake up the fishbowl, see them fucking fly around like crazy or swim around like crazy. But then ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody's gonna settle things back. You're gonna end up back on the couch, and so they're saying to you, you're gonna be okay. Life is hard, but you're gonna be
and
okay.
it's a great. I
It's
mean,
great.
yeah, you're 100% right. And Charlie touched on it before. You and I are probably old enough to remember where, George H.W. Bush said that we want a nation that's more like the Waltons and less like the Simpsons.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they are a family. They come together every time. Homer and Marge find a way to make it work. Bart and Lisa, despite their differences, support one another. Bart and Homer find a way to coexist despite their very obviously, similarly clashing personalities. And, they nurture Lisa the best they can. Like, they are, they're not a family that you should be afraid of. They are
No,
probably
they're
more
a family
normal
to-
than any other family out
to
there.
emulate. And I think that the real issue is that they came out and they started on the Tracy Ullman show,
Yeah.
which some people don't know what the fuck that is at this point. But it was more to me. Any kind of flack that they got was that people did not want to acknowledge how much their family, regardless if they were yellow or peach or brown colored, actually really looks a hell of a lot like the Simpsons family.
Yeah.
Considering that the Simpsons family's fucking hijinks, that was a punchline. You're like, yo, fuck you, man. That's my reality. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah. Well,
that's where-
everybody wants to look like they're not the Simpsons
Yeah.
to everyone else. But behind closed doors, we are all the Simpsons.
And that was even
We are
before
all just
social
trying
media.
to get that 5 minutes in front of the TV, or we're trying to just get our lives back on track. That's all
it.
we are,
You just
right?
wanna
I'm gonna
scan
say
the
it again,
baby
though.
and be able to cover the bill when the receipt pops out. What were you
Yeah.
saying,
I'm gonna
Charles?
say it again though, man. I think the inevitability of something as powerful as The Simpsons, it deserves to go out like every great sitcom with a terrible spinoff. So I hope we let the dust settle and
They
we
did
get,
an episode about the
Maggie's.
spin-offs. You got to watch them.
I have and I love, but I want Maggie's family.
Oh, my.
Just fucking do it. Call it The Simpsons 2000, even though it's gonna be 2058.
Well, we've seen that. Actually, you know what might work, especially in this kind of current age.
Lisa
of,
as president?
Correction? No. Give me an Apu spinoff with a properly cast set of characters, and you know what?
Interesting.
And show Miss Marvel how adult storytelling is supposed to happen. But that being said, we love The Simpsons over here. Any creative group that collectively has the cojones to say, hey, studio audience and those watching at home, give us a character. It's going to be your character that you created. And then they went on and killed that character in front of the audience for everybody to see for now and always. Those are my kind of people. So that's going to wrap up the show for us. Steven, thank you so much for joining us, bro. You were an amazing guest. I want this officially to be your open invitation to come back and join us any damn time you want for any topic. It does not have to be. You don't have to slave away over the keyboard to justify your joining us. We'd love to have you back anytime You were an amazing, amazing guest, bro.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to take you up on that. I do want to say I didn't say this either of the two times I mentioned my Instagram. The circle is real. One word across, no underscores, no dashes. The circle is real on Instagram.
Yep.
If you guys want to give it a follow, and I'll be running
remind
that.
yourself with the title of this episode.
There. Oh, that's right. That works out. But you guys have been great. Thank you so much for having me. It really was a great time. I appreciate it very much.
You know, I gotta
We
say
appreciate you back, brother.
You're a wonderful fiction writer, but you also tell the damn truth, because we are great. But again, everyone here, thank you for joining us. At this point, there's really only one thing left. Charlie, tell
Yes.
the good people how we wrap up shit at US Comics Cast.
Well, first you gotta turn the power on. Then you gotta turn the volume up. Then you gotta tune Bad Marion. Open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Say, Miss Space Girl! We out.